Hey Darshan, how are you doing?
Very good, man. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks for joining. I know it's quite late and you're also waiting to get into the football game
Yeah.
semifinals today, right? So,
Yes.
so we'll make it real quick. First of all, thanks for joining me. And This is IIT Bombay Mood Indigo. So they approached us to do this different sessions on like how to take music as a career. There is a lot of interest from the younger generation that they want to be in media, they want to be in music and filmmaking and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So as far as music is concerned, through all our artist community, they wanted to find out what it really takes to take music as a profession. So I wanted to talk about like why would you want to take music as a career, and you can talk a little bit about your background and when did you think that you wanted to take music as a career and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. So, firstly, thank you, Moodai and Livdemy. I've got a very special relationship with both of you guys, and it's really amazing that we're able to do this today. And everybody listening to me, thank you so much for being here. Firstly, to start off with my journey, for me, it was very clear from day one that I wanted to be a musician. I started at the age of 2. My father, being a percussionist himself and being a teacher for over the last 45 years here in Mumbai, he is running an academy called the Manoranjan Music Academy here in Juhu. And the time I was born, I was only listening to music in my house, whether it was somebody learning the drums or somebody learning tabla, somebody learning violin, somebody learning vocals. There was all kinds of stuff happening in the house. And then at some point when I started attending my father's concerts is where drum as an instrument started really appealing to me. I used to see him with his massive drum kit on stage, whether it was for Navratris. Us being Gujarati, that was a very, very big part of our family. And then obviously, him playing for Bollywood stuff. Yeah, I used to always see him, and the instrument really attracted me at a very early age. And I think the complete credit goes to my father in the way he started kind of not really pushing me, but I think it was already there in my genes. It was just about him giving me the sticks and giving me the drum kit to kind of, start working on. And my first training started under him. And then over the years, him coming more from the Indian music and the Indian part of drumming kind of a space, he thought that he didn't wanted me to limit to just this. He thought that it'll be great to kind of give me to another tutor who can give me more information about drums and where it all started, and getting back to the real foundation of drum kit and the way it needs to be played.
Mhm.
And that's where my other teachers came into the picture. And so from a very early age, this was all going on. And I joined Little Wonders, which was a band by the amazing Kalyanji Anandji back in 1994 when I was 8 years old. uh, and I think since then, I was playing on stage almost every weekend, because
Wow.
I ended up doing about 400 concerts with them in
Wow.
a span of about 8 years, playing in places like United States to UK, to playing at SSC Wembley at a very young age.
Wow.
It was incredible. And for me, like stage fright and all these things was already like pretty much gone
It was
by the
never
age of
there.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I said, the due credit goes to my father. Because of him, I'm today where I am. And then, as you know, the journey kind of started going into Bollywood music, playing with
Yeah.
playback singers to composers, and then being part of Coke Studio, MTV Unplugged, all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff, man. And so many bands and so many amazing people that I'm able to perform with. So yeah,
Yeah.
my pretty much journey started then. So for me, it was very clear. I never had any other profession in mind except playing drums or being a
Mhm.
musician. And then obviously now being a composer with my brother Umang Doshi,
Yeah.
later that happened. And then I always wanted to do something of my own. So the Darshan Doshi Collective came into picture in
Yeah.
2014, and we were very fortunate that just before the pandemic in 2019, I headlined the Mood Indigo
Yeah.
Fusion Night with
Absolutely.
a bunch of incredible musicians and singers like Vijay Prakash, Mame Khan, Rashmi Kaur, Sharmista
Yes.
Chatterjee. So so that's why for me it was very clear. I never had any doubts of where I wanted to head in life. So I think the due credit goes to my parents.
Oh, that's awesome. In fact, I wanted to also touch upon this, like role of mentors in early days, and of course, your father was your biggest mentor. So that is like number one, and the number two is, did you also have any learnings in Indian percussion style, be it tabla, dholak, or anything before you got full time into drums? So, I mean, how did you develop your Indian sensibilities? Yeah.
So again, here my father plays a big role because he was very clear that me playing drums, that is my primary instrument.
Yeah.
But by the age of 7, I was already learning tabla, and I
Okay.
continued doing that for about 10 years, uh, and so that's where my Indian journey started, where I could play tabla and I could get the information of that instrument. And later on, again, I was very lucky that I could join Mr. Ranjit Barot,
Wow.
who completely changed the way I looked at drums, And
Mhm.
then from there, again, my journey into Carnatic music started because there were so many amazing musicians coming to his studio, like Sridhar
Yeah.
Parthasarthi, Ustad Tawfiq Qureshi. And that's where I kind of got really, really attracted to Carnatic music and
Mhm.
understanding conocols and korvais and stuff. And
Mhm.
so these two things were very, very crucial for me because I feel today as a drummer, yes, drums being a Western instrument, but still I'm in India playing Indian music.
Mhm.
So that is very, very important for not just drummers. I would say this to all musicians: learn at least one Indian instrument.
Yeah.
It's very important to know the ragas, the rhythm cycle, all the grooves, and that
Yeah.
will really make your life much simpler, especially if you want to be a versatile musician and play with a whole wide variety of stuff and different styles of genres. I think it's very, very important to learn at least one Indian instrument.
Yeah. 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 And I'm sure even like listening to a lot of Indian music, and not only Indian music, like listening to all kinds of music, that also teaches you in a lot sense, right?
Absolutely, because as I said, if you want to be a musician who's going to be playing different genres, I
Yeah.
think it's important from day one to listen to all styles of music. Yes, you might have your preference on something that you really like. Like I really love jazz fusion.
Okay.
If I've been given an opportunity to play jazz fusion all my life, every day of my life, I would do that.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's important, as you said, to listen to all styles, and
Yeah.
especially being in India, it's very, very important to listen to all styles of Indian music as
Yeah. 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 Uh, so there's another related question also that there are a lot of people, they want to take music as a career. Okay. Some of them are like legit prodigies like yourself, and some of them you had it like very clear that you wanted to take drums professionally, but there are
well. Right.
some of the very good musicians I've known, but they don't want to take professionally, even though they're like born with a like innate talent for music. And then there is the just the opposite of that. There is this other kind of people who probably get attracted by all the shiny things that they see on social media or YouTube or elsewhere, and they think that it's just very so cool to be a like rock star on the stage, and so they get attracted, just I would say, by the wrong reasons in a way to pursue as a music as a career. Now, how do you sort of there are two different approaches. Uh, I mean, what's your take on that? Basically, when do you think that you're really ready to take up and what's the right way to sort of gauge yourself that you want to take music as a profession?
See, firstly, before even thinking to take this as a profession, I think it's very important to work on your craft.
Yeah,
The professional stuff will come much later, I feel.
yeah,
I think in today's generation, what is missing is what I feel is is the riyaz, the
Okay.
amount of hours that you need to put on. I would not say master, but at least to reach the pro level, you know.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that is where I feel we are currently lacking, because I think everybody's gone into that whole fast food business where, learn for 3 years and start playing on stage.
Yeah.
So that is a little scary for me, because then you really are not becoming a pro at your instrument, and you've already gone into the professional part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for what I kind of, when I do my master classes and when I do my, connect with my students, is that first thing is that you need to do at least 6 to 8 hours of riyaz every day for a good amount of time to even think of taking this as a profession. Because I
Mhm.
was very clear, when you come into the business, you have to be the best in the business,
Mhm.
and that will only happen once you master the art form.
Yeah.
So that is very, very, that's the number one thing for me, is to first master some kind of, in some way, be the best in that form.
Yeah.
And then uh, a lot of other factors come into the place, which is obviously luck, to be at the right time at the right place, to be seen by the right people,
Mhm.
to approach the right people for work if required. uh,
Mhm.
and then the third part is your business skills and how you are, as a person, as on stage,
Mhm.
off stage stuff, uh, and and then also, as I said, the business skills, in the sense of realistically understanding Indian markets on, what is really kind of working right now musically as well in the scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
As much as I would want to play jazz fusion all my life, unfortunately I cannot earn a living just playing jazz fusion, the kind of standard of living I want to live. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is also another section where you need to be very aware of that particular genre. Like metal as a genre in India, unfortunately, is not working right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you are a metal musician and if you have to pay your bills, you might have to do a side job again,
Mhm.
and then kind of simultaneously be, or else be in a band which is that good, which is kind of traveling the world, and and are able to make that kind of money.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of factors involved in becoming a pro level musician. First is your
Mhm.
craft.
Yeah.
Second is obviously your luck to be at the right place at the right time. Third is your business skills, and fourth is
Yeah.
understanding the Indian music scene. You know.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, we're probably going to come to some of those topics also, especially the business part of it, and so those things. But see, learning never stops. I'm sure you agree with that. And even
Absolutely,
today, even today also, you continue to learn. Now,
absolutely.
at some point of time, you have to decide that okay, I have now learned enough to actually put that into practice and then become a career musician. And you can still continue learning. But so what was that point for you? Like, when did you think that you have enough chops in your bag so that you can go and become a full-time musician?
So for me, fortunately, man, it kind of really worked out by itself. I really never thought about this, as I said, because I started playing at such a young age,
Yeah.
and when actually it was just like a hobby, actually, just to kind of go to school every day, and then in the weekends play with this band called Little Wonders.
Mhm.
So and by the end of it, by the end of, I think, about 99 2000, I was pretty much in a decent enough pro level, because I had already done so many, and I was kind of learning on stage itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
being around some incredible talent, incredible musicians, and obviously the composers Kalyan ji.
Yeah.
So for me it worked out step by step. I was there till about to understand how this scene works. I already did that by the time I was 15 or 16.
Yeah.
After that, when I joined Ranjit Barot, musically I felt that that really changed me as a drummer, because till then I was, as I said, I was mainly doing Bollywood stuff. I was just playing old songs, old Bollywood songs, and whatever the latest numbers that
Mhm.
there were. But my style of drumming was still very Indian space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really wanted to play the instrument the way it needs to be played. and then obviously add my color to it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where my guru came into place. And then he the first 6 months, I remember when I used to go to his studio, there was no teaching, there was only listening to music. He gave me like a bundle of CDs,
Mhm.
from the Mahavishnu Orchestra to Billy Cobham to Dave Weckl, Steve Smith, all kinds of
Yeah.
drummers. He's like, first 6 months, these are the albums, just burn these CDs, and I want you to listen to this, and then we'll meet after 6 months.
Okay.
So that's how my trainings kind of started with him. And then it just, as I said, it just happened for me step by step, wherein I kind of was part of a fusion band called Akruti with this incredible singer called Parthiv Goel. And we
Mhm.
were performing at this place called Nehru Center in Mumbai. And that's where Monty Sharma was there in the crowd, and he saw me. And after the show, he's like, why don't we meet at my studio? And I have something in mind that I want you to play on.
Mhm.
And that's how I got my first film song, which was Black,
Oh,
which was it was the only one song in that movie sung by Gayatri Iyer. And that
yeah.
was my first ever Bollywood recording, and from there on, I realized, okay, this is something that I can also work on, to play drums in a studio format as well, So
Yeah.
then I started taking tips from Ranjit sir, and he kind of guided me on how to, just the dynamics of playing live and playing in a studio, and things that you need to keep in mind, and miking and tuning and all kinds of stuff started happening around that.
Mhm.
So that's where this whole recording business started.
Mhm.
And then again, a show I was doing in Mumbai in 2000, I think 5 or something, where Shankar Ehsan Loy were judges, and they were judging the vocal,
Okay.
the vocalist of that competition.
Yeah.
And that's where SEL saw me. And then the minute I kind of got off stage, Shankar Bhai was like, we really have to meet. I'm thinking for a new sound for this band, and
Yeah.
I would want you to come to Purple Ace Studios and meet me there. So as I said, I was just there at the right place at the right time, certain times,
Yeah.
as I said, and it kind of worked out, and it just went step by step, step by step. Then SEL happened, and after that, obviously, so many people saw me playing with them. Then I started playing with Hari Haran and
Yeah. Yeah.
Kunal Ganjawala, and then obviously Rock On happened in 2006, where I could play the entire album. I
Yeah.
think during that time it was very rarely where live drums were being used in an
Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
album as such.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a very, very big part, which kind of completely changed my recording business as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, as I said, it just kept happening one by one, one by one. It just linked itself by itself, and I was just doing my job. I was working hard. I was making sure that I keep learning every day, whatever the new material was. And then I also started kind of going abroad to drum camps to understand how that works, and how to just understand and be around the greats. Even if
Mhm.
I don't get to learn, obviously they're catering to the beginners and the intermediate level, but to just be around Dave Weckl, to just be around Benny Greb, to just be
Yeah.
around Jojo Maya, it's incredible, to listen to them and to understand their journey as well. So I think for me, as I said, it just panned out step
Yeah.
by step by itself, and I never had to think about whether I'm a pro or I'm not a pro. It just
Yeah. Yeah.
worked
Yeah.
out well by itself.
One thing that you said, that you have to be in the right place and right time. I'll just say one thing to it, that you are already playing so much that I know there is always a factor of like chance of being at the place where Shankar and Loy were actually judging the thing, but actually you are playing so much that you actually increase your chances of being noticed, right?
That's true.
So I always like, there is, I agree, there is always a chance factor, there's a luck factor and all that things, but I think the primary thing is yourself. Like, you play so much, you just completely devote yourself so much to the art and the craft, that you will be noticed no matter what, right?
Yeah, for
So
me, as I said, whenever I do anything, I think
yeah.
it's important to give your 200%. Otherwise, don't get into it, because I think, as I said, if I want to do something, I need to be the best at it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and at least in my level, I need to be doing justice to whatever show I'm doing. For me, I've never taken any show for granted.
Sure.
whether it's small, big, whether it's for 10 people or whether it's for or for 80,000 people, it doesn't matter. For me, if
Yeah.
I go on stage, if I sit on that instrument, I need to be sure that I'm giving 200%, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and as you said, then, you know, sometimes people, it can be only 50 people, but that in 50 people, there can be those two people who will notice you and you will, you know, get something else from there, like, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just that, as you said, you just have to keep working hard, be true to your art, and things will follow by itself.
So you talked about, Shankar and Lloyd came for the vocals thing, and then they spotted you as an instrumentalist. Now, this session is mostly, we are going to talk about the instrumentalists, right? So you talked about being versatile, okay? Sometimes, being versatile is one thing, and then there is like being unique is another thing. Unique in maybe one style, like maybe you just focus on the metal drumming, or you're
Yes.
just focus on the jazz drumming. What's your approach like? What would you weigh more, like being versatile or being unique?
See, with being unique is also great, you know, and you can also have your own market and your own audience, you know, to work towards that. Uh, it again depends from musician to musician how they want to look at that part. For me, I was very clear from day one that I do not want to be a part of only one band. You know,
Mhm.
I was even very clear with the artists that I performed with that I'm going to be playing with a multiple a lineup from day one itself. You know, because
Mhm.
for me, musically, I want to keep growing. I don't want to get stagnant at the same place with the same
Mhm.
artist playing the same songs for 20 years.
Yeah.
So for me, that is very important. If I'm not able to push myself every day, get up and, you know, be on the edge of the seat, then it's not worth it, man. You know.
Yeah.
So I was very clear that I want to, firstly, obviously, Bollywood was my main source of income and the main genre that I wanted to work with, and I wanted to work with from the likes of A.R. Rahman to Amit Trivedi to everybody in the business, and I ended up playing with pretty much everybody in the business, whether
Yeah.
it was for live or for recording.
Yeah.
Uh, but for me, at some point, when I started the trio, when I started the collective,
Yeah.
I really wanted to push myself musically, because I feel that if that doesn't happen, this becomes like a 9 to 5 job, you know, where
Mhm.
you just get up every day, go
Yeah.
out, be on this same stage with the same artist, play the same songs, and that's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it, you know.
True.
And I was um, for certain people it does work. I've seen bands which work, you know, people like Indian
Mhm.
Ocean or Parikrama who've been playing with the same band setup for, you know, more than 30 years, pretty
Yeah.
much has played
No,
all the
amazing
venues.
stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
that's incredible as well, like, you know. So as I
Yeah.
said, it depends from musician to musician. For me,
Yeah.
it was very clear that I would want to explore different genres, whether it was drum and bass, whether it was Indian fusion music, whether
Yeah.
it's jazz fusion. Even if you see my last two albums with my band, the trio, it's completely different, you
Yeah.
know.
I've seen you
Uh,
guys live. Yeah.
so for me, it's very clear. I need to get up every day and I need to do something which is more edge on the seat. Like, you know, I would want, like I recently did a show with AR Rahman sir, where I got a call one day in the evening that you need to take a flight and come to Abu Dhabi. And, you know, I had to learn about 40, 45 songs on the flight. And I landed up there, I did the sound check and I did the gig, and it kind of really went pretty well. So
Wow.
uh, I like this thing, you know. I like this whole edge on the sea. Like, you don't know what's going on, and you know, it's really exciting as a musician and challenging as a musician to be like this.
Awesome. So, talking about being an instrumentalist, I know you have been focused on percussion almost entirely, but now, what do you think of approach being a multi-instrumentalist? Is that a good thing, bad thing, or should you just have like a working knowledge of other instruments, like when you want to, produce, or when you want to, take music seriously?
See, I think it's important to have an advantage of being a multi instrumentalist, that you will be able to really compose and, you know, do it everything by yourself. And nowadays those things are becoming very important, wherein it's becoming a one man show where you are able to produce it, you are able to mix it, you are able to play on it, whether it's drums, bass, guitars, keys. But I feel that you need to at least master one instrument. You know, you need
Yeah.
to be like really pro at that one instrument, because I've also seen a lot of multi-instrument into this where uh, they are playing 30 instruments,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry, they're not at that level for me. You know,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
not even in that one instrument. So that is a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
scary part sometimes when you play so many things, and you are able to do you're able to play, but you got to
Mhm.
be at least have one instrument which you are really pro at, and then
Mhm.
other things can follow. Like obviously as a percussionist you have to play a lot of different instruments, and that is a completely different world altogether.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you go into the world of Sivamanis and Trilo Gutus, and these people have to master each one of their percussion instrument as well, because they're using that
Yeah.
every day. uh, you
Yeah.
know but in today's time, if you really want to compose and if you want to put your music out, I think it's very important to also learn one melodic instrument,
Yeah.
which will help you to compose, and a little bit of programming would be amazing
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Awesome. There's a just a vague question, because we are sort of addressing a lot of people who want to start probably at a much later stage than you, because you probably started much earlier. But there are guys who go to college and they suddenly realize that they're good at some musical instrument or something, and they start taking interest, and they want to progress and then take it professionally. What do you think is a decent and average, like a time, how long they have to like practice on their instrument and to become good at it before they want to say that I want to take this professionally?
Again, it's a tricky question where it
Yeah.
differs from person to person.
Yeah.
Firstly, I feel to be in this profession and to take any instrument, I don't know, I might be wrong, but you need to be God gifted, man. Firstly, it should be there
In
in you
you.
in some way or other.
Mhm.
And then you can have all these other things where you will practice and make it even better and take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Certain times people just don't have in them, and then they try really hard, and they will have to practice even harder than a person who's kind of a little God gifted.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one thing. So that will differ from person to person. Uh,
Mhm.
it's also important to find the right teacher, the right guru, who
Mhm.
will help you to kind of make this process smoother for you. In the
Yeah.
sense of, a lot of times I see people who practice 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
but if you're not practicing the right way, you can do
Mhm.
that for years and years and years and years, and it'll still not get right, because your basic foundation and your basic technique was wrong, and nobody
Yeah.
corrected you at that point of time.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know so having the right teacher, having the right guru in this point becomes extremely important, because if you have that, then your journey, obviously, we all have to work hard to get there,
Mhm.
whether
Mhm.
it's 6 hours a day or 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
But how to make this process smooth and in a way wherein uh, you are able to reach that goal, and
Mhm.
you are able to play professionally with the right technique, with the right foundation, and when you reach that level, you are able to converse with musicians at that level.
Mhm.
So I think that will kind of only come together when you have the right guru. And I was
Yeah.
really lucky, as I said, I found my guru at the right age, where I had to change my drumming.
Yeah.
uh, I had to change my language, because in music, vocabulary is very important, bro. Because what happens
Mhm.
that after a certain point, if you don't have the vocabulary, you will be stuck at the same level. you know
Yeah.
and that's the reason, if you see, all these amazing ustads and pandits, they have practiced for years and years, and their vocabulary is so much that they can, on every show, sing something different,
Yeah.
because there's so much amount of vocabulary.
Mhm.
So that will only happen when you obviously find the right person to train under. And you also have to be a student where you are able to take that information from that guru, you know,
Yeah.
and somewhere start to apply in the music that you play,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And so I think that's what, most of the people say in today's time, that the gurus, more than the guru's role, the student's role is very important here, because the student needs to take out that information,
Yeah.
from the guru,
Uh-huh.
and then start working on it, and becoming a master at it.
How do musicians make money? I know this is like a very 10,000 feet question, but I mean, in my mind, I kind of broke it up to three types. So one is, being a session artist. The other one is like, performing artist. And the third one is teaching. And please correct me if I'm wrong, or if you want to add anything on the top of that, please feel free to do that. So we want to address like each of them one by one. So let's talk about, being a session artist. So I know you already covered a lot, but now from the perspective, like how do musicians make money being a session artist?
Again, I would say it differs from instrument to instrument,
Yeah,
because certain times certain instruments are used almost every day in a recording. Say, if you take a guitar, or a programmer, or maybe say somebody who's playing some kind of strokes and stuff.
yeah,
These instruments, or a soloist like a flautist,
yeah,
they are used almost every day in a recording session,
yeah,
wherein instruments like drums might not be used every day.
yeah,
So for me, just banking on doing recordings will not help me to survive in this city.
yeah,
you know
yeah,
that is just an extra income, and I would say like uh, an experience where I'm able to play with a film story, keeping in mind,
mhm,
and my experience to work with independent artists, or whether it's working for films, or whether it's working for background scores, or even doing a jingle, you know
mhm,
uh, but I would not really, it would be impossible for me to just do recordings and survive. So for
yeah,
me, as a musician, playing live is extremely important, because that's my main bread and butter. That's where I'm
mhm,
going to go on stage every day. When I come down, I'm going to be paid. As simple as that.
yeah, yeah,
So I would go. I was. That's why I was more towards live music from day one, because that flow of income really helped me to grow as a musician, to make my own studio, to buy my own house, to live a certain way in the
yeah,
city, uh, and I feel that's also as I said, that's the fastest source of income, because jingles will take you. They will take sometimes 2 to 6 months to pay you,
okay,
or a film
yeah,
recording, you might not be paid right after you've done your job.
mhm.
So that these things are something that you cannot bank on, but live concerts are something wherein you finish your job and you're paid right then and there. So that's the difference between live and the recording part, when it comes to that.
Yeah. So now let's talk about that live part, which is the $1 million question. So I also assume that being a live musician also satisfies you creatively, because every day is different, and then every day you got to try something different, and some days work, some days don't work. So can you talk about like a little bit about being a live musician and earning money?
So again, live music has uh, a lot of different levels to it as well. There are live musicians who play in clubs every day. That's a different level of income that they're making there. Nowadays, you also see guitar players and cajon players playing at clubs, making a decent amount of money. Then comes there are again different levels of artists that you can work on. Once obviously the level A is all your A.R. Rahmans and the Shankar Ehsaan Loys and the Salim Suleimans, and that category. And then there is another category which is mainly the singers, uh, you know uh, and then there are also the upcoming singers, which comes from Indian Idols, and all your YouTube talents and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So there are different levels in there wherein you get paid in according to the level of artist you are working with. So, and as you said, there's a different about that, because once you go on stage, there is a different crowd listening to you every day. There's a different venue
Mhm.
that you're performing on. You're different playing in a different city.
Yeah.
So all that is changing, and It's tough as well. I won't say it's easy. With the kind of schedules that I work on, um, it does take a little hit on your body as well if you're not used to it. Uh, but over the years, I feel it's become kind of a little simpler for me because I exactly know where I'm heading. I exactly know the venue. I exactly know the kind of gear I'm going to get at that place. uh, I know the artists, how they are working, the management how they are working. uh,
Mhm.
so it becomes, the more experienced you are, it becomes easier and easier going forward. But yes, it is a tough job, there's no doubt about it, because at the end of the day I have to go on stage and every day and play that 2.5 3 hours.
Mhm.
And that really takes a toll on a body, and that's where I said the technique comes into the picture. If
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't have the right technique, maybe I would have already been worn out by now.
So on a related note, also there is you just talked about going for the AR Rahman show in Abu Dhabi, where you had to like in one day you had to like come up with like 45
six
songs or
hours
six. Holy cow, man! I just don't know how you guys do it, but it always amazes me every time I talk to a musician in industry. They all work in this style, so as opposed to musicians in West, even they also do a like lot of live shows, but they stick to
Right.
one style of music, one set list or something. They do it over and over again, and they go all over the world and they perform. As opposed to you guys, like you are playing with Salim Suleiman, you're playing with A.R. Rahman, you're playing with Shankar Samla or Amit Trivedi and Vishal Shekhar or whoever you're playing with, and they have entirely different kind of sound. The soundscape of Salim Suleiman is entirely different from Amit Trivedi or A.R. Rahman or something. How do
True.
you prepare yourself as an instrumentalist to be so fast to pick up different kind of soundscape in such a short time? How do you prepare yourself for such a tough task?
So when you compare this to the West, it's a completely different thing. Firstly, they are firstly, they do not have film music as such, right? Right? They have
Yeah,
mainly scores,
yeah,
in film. So their film music is very different. The touring artist that you're talking about is mainly pop artists who will kind of put out an album, first, and
mhm,
then he will just take that album on the tour with the same setup, with the same lights, with the same gear every day, and they will tour the world for about, say, like 6 to 8 months.
yeah,
So their scene is very clear there, and once that tour gets over, that drummer will be then again going back to the jazz club that he might be
yeah,
playing in that zone, for
yeah,
some time. So compared that to India now here, because the film music is so powerful and there are so many artists in the industry right now, whether it's composers or singers, uh, there is a wide variety, as I said, of genres that you can work in India. And I'm
mhm,
saying this because we are actually very, very blessed that we really have Bollywood. Let me tell you that.
yeah,
Because the kind of stories that I hear from musicians who are abroad right now, it's very difficult to get into bands like Bruno Mars or a Beyonce or a Dua Lipa or
yeah, yeah,
Ariana Grande or something. It's very difficult to, there is very limited stuff that you can work on there. Wherein
yeah,
in India, as I said, there are different levels, but you will get work for sure. If you're good
yeah,
enough, then you will surely cut through this whole crowd and you will be up there. Maybe you will start at level D, then you will go to level C, then level B, and you will reach level A if you keep doing every day again and again, you know,
mhm,
and making sure that you don't stop learning.
yeah,
So for me, as I said, because I have been into Bollywood from day one, I know how the Bollywood sound works, how each artist works. Uh, I also do a lot of R&D before I sign up with an artist. I kind of go through his earlier videos. I see how he interacts with musicians on stage. What's his body language? What's his sound? And then try to cater to that, giving them exactly what they want.
mhm,
So the way I play with Salim Suleiman is very different compared to what I play with Farhan live. You know,
yeah, exactly.
So again, as I said, it's the sound is different. The
Yeah,
compositions are different. The way of how a Salim Merchant thinks is different compared
Yeah.
to what Farhan Akhtar thinks, or where completely going opposite to Adnan Sami, which is
Yeah.
completely different. Firstly, all live. There is no click track. There is, everything is on his hands, and
Yeah.
so so each artist has their own sound,
Yeah.
and I try to give them the best I can, come closest to that sound, also making sure that I add a little more value to that music as well, and not just copy exactly on how it was in the original. So when we first started playing with Amit Trivedi, we started changing a little bit of arrangements,
Yeah.
to make it more live oriented, like, in the sense of, it's sometimes some song might sound really good in the studio, but when you do it live, it needs to have
Yeah.
that energy, because it's a
True.
completely different audience in front of you.
Yeah.
So these are the things that you need to keep in mind, and I think the more you do it, the more experience you will get. And for me now, because I've done it so much, over close to 3,000 concerts in my life, that I kind of tried to,
Yeah.
I've got the DNA of each artist, and how they work, and what I can add to make the show sound great.
Yeah, and I think to your earlier talk about having a great vocabulary also helps to pick up this
Absolutely.
different style and different soundscape, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, because as I
Yeah.
said, for an artist like Adnan Sami, where everything is about dholak grooves,
Yeah.
his
Totally.
entire music is all about Indian percussion. And if
Yes.
I didn't have the knowledge of Indian percussion, I would
Yes.
have not locked in that well with the rhythm section there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he appreciates today, because today, whenever we play, it can be the smallest things that we do, every day when we go on stage with him, and he'll just look at me like this at the back, and he'll smile, and I know that he appreciates that little small
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I've done,
Absolutely.
or maybe just the swing of the groove that I've created. He appreciates that, and that's what is great for me as a musician, that I get that appreciation from the artist then and there on stage, and
Yeah.
that's what matters at the end.
That's amazing, man. So now we're going to talk about the third aspect of making money as a musician is teaching. And first of all, thank you for being a longtime supporter of Livdemy, and you have taken so many master classes and workshops on Livdemy, and we truly appreciate it. So
Thank you.
now there is this teaching, and there's now this the world has opened up to this like remote learning and remote teaching and all that things. So can you kind of talk about teaching as a for a musician and making a living out of that?
So again, this is a completely different world. Firstly, uh, for me, when I started off, even before the pandemic, actually, I used to do a lot of master classes at my studio once a year, where students used to come from across India, fly down for a one-on-one session with me at my studio. Um, so before I got into this, I thought that for me, it's important for me to firstly understand how this scene works, because as I told you, I've always been into live concerts or recordings, and teaching is a completely different world.
Yeah.
And I've also seen a lot of live musicians who are not that great teachers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are amazing musicians, but when it comes to teaching, it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
So I started doing it, and then I realized that I think I should need to still work hard into uh, making concepts clear for them, and giving them that foundation, and making them understand the different techniques which are available to them.
Yeah.
Maybe I play a certain way. That doesn't mean that you also have to play exactly like me.
Yeah.
So then I started working with each student separately, and that's why I kind of prefer one-on-one over doing a group session, because I can really get into that student's vocabulary and kind
Mhm.
of understand his technique, where he's coming from, what he's already done in the past, and where he's gone wrong, and get those things tweaked.
Yeah.
Uh, and that also took me some years to to keep doing it again and again. And I feel what I was teaching back in 2014 and what I'm doing it now is way
Yeah.
different. I've
Yeah.
really evolved as a teacher, and as a teacher also, you learn a lot of things from students, because each of them,
Absolutely.
they are all different. They're coming from different parts of the country. They've studied different music. They're listening to different music. So me as a teacher also learn a lot of things from them. But as you said, yes, you can surely earn a living out of them. There are a lot of teachers who are just doing this, and whether it's teaching in schools, whether it's teaching at universities now out here in India. Also, as you said, the Livdemy as a platform, I've really enjoyed whenever I did my sessions with you guys, especially during the pandemic, because I firstly never used to teach virtually, like, ever online. But when the pandemic hit, and everybody was home, and we had absolutely no work and no choice to kind of do anything around. So then I started putting up a setup at my studio. I kind of bought a new computer, wherein I could do like a 3 camera setup, and go through a sound card and make my sound sound great on the other side, because
Yeah.
I feel that's also important for me as a teacher, where the student also needs to enjoy, whether he's sitting in New York or LA, or London,
Yeah.
so all those things were very important for me to, as I said, when I do something, I want to do it the right way. So
Yeah.
I really went into it. There was a lot of people who helped me. There's MT Aditya, who was my go-to caller every day. Listen, like, I want to improve my video. I want to improve my sound. How can I get the a really good mix going? What are the softwares I can use? So. As a teacher, for me, it's important to obviously give information, but also give the information at the best quality. So
Yeah.
I feel it's an amazing place, but again, as I said, if you want to be a teacher, that's a completely different learning, and that is something that you will also have to do it again and again, to be at that, to become that kind of a teacher, where you are able to cater from a student who's 8 years old, who's
Yeah.
just starting off, to somebody who's already in the business, and he's already working with the pros in the
Yeah.
business.
And I just want to just mention that, MT Aditya has also helped us in like a lot of sessions, including he helps out Zakir ji whenever
Yeah.
he does any kind of online sessions. And the one other guy also who has been like a rock for us is Mahesh Raghavan. And I know in your sessions also Mahesh Raghavan came and helped
Yes.
us a lot on those things. And in fact,
Absolutely.
talking about those kind of complicated setup, that was sort of my next question is like uh, the role of technology, because right now at this time and age, you cannot be just a musician and be unaware of the technology around you. So, and
Absolutely.
whenever you did your sessions, I remember yours was one of the most complicated sessions because, of course, there is a drum miking is there, and then you are running your sessions on Logic Pro on your computer, and that whole thing was routed like that. And then you had like a multi-camera setup, including one of them was an iPhone,
Right.
and and this whole thing, and then you had this whole click track going on in your ear, and but that didn't want to be on the main out also. So they
Right.
had this little different layers of technology, and somebody has to be like really really good to nail these things down.
True. True.
So can you talk about being a musician and learning the tricks of the technology around it?
Yeah. So, firstly, starting off with the instrument itself, what these things we are talking is obviously about, audio and video and all kinds of that. It actually comes much later.
Yeah.
Firstly, we also use a lot of tech on
Yeah.
our gigs as well with the instrument. Using a
True.
hybrid kit. If you see me playing, some stuff in Bhumi, which is the Salim Suleiman's album,
Yeah.
a lot of things is electronic stuff. A lot of things are triggered. There are samples. A lot of times I play it acoustically, but it's been treated as a through MIDI as electronic. We change the sound of the kick drum, we change the sound of the snare drum, we change the sound of the toms and everything. So it's important in today's time, as we are we are fully into the electronics space right now, to use these tools that we have, and make the acoustics kit sound electronic. you know
Yeah. Yeah.
so there are a lot of trigger mics which are by Roland India. They've been really supporting us by giving us some of the top gears which is available in the market. Whether it's using their drum kit, or whether it's using their trigger mics, or it's using their samplers. I also used to use a sampler back in 2008 with Shankar Ehsaan Loy, where I used to start use triggering samples back then.
Mhm.
Certain dhol loops, and certain tracks which are overly produced. And if you want to do
Mhm.
that live, and give that kind of sound to the audience, you will have to take help of electronic, music.
Yeah.
So I think it's firstly important to understand what your instrument can give the best output using all these tools,
Yeah.
but also not losing the acoustic part of it, the acoustic
Absolutely.
playing part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that I've been very clear that I don't want to lose my acoustic kit, but I will add these tools to make
Yeah.
it sound electronic. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. And then later on, obviously, once we went into the virtual world, it was important for me to understand all these things, tips and tricks from Mahesh and MT Aditya, which helped me during the pandemic. We had a band called Live and Sing where we used to play
Yeah.
from
Absolutely.
different parts of the city and different parts of the country. So it was really helpful to understand all these things and learn the tips and tricks from these amazing masters.
Yeah, there is this whole gears know-how that you have to keep yourself updated with, right?
Yes.
How do you do it? Like, do you visit NAM, or do you go to other kind of similar kind of conventions, or do you like read a lot online or watch a lot of YouTube, or what's the best way, even for someone like who's not as experienced as you, someone who's like just starting out or something, how do they keep themselves up to date with the latest?
I feel YouTube is the best teacher, man. Right now,
Yeah.
you can, you don't need to spend money to go out to NAM, and it's, if you have the works, then you can surely go there and see it firsthand. And that's what I did in 2020. I Just before the pandemic, I was at NAM 2020, and it was a phenomenal experience. Not
Yeah.
just with the gear part, but just meeting the artists and talking to
Yeah.
them, on their booth, and understanding the equipment that they are playing and why they are playing and what they are using, and why are they using a certain kind of snare drum, and what is the wood involved in it, and why is the size in a specific way, to get into all the detailed part of it. But if you cannot do that, then yes, YouTube is your best bet. And there's so much information online that really nowadays we don't have. You cannot cry about, oh, I don't have this, or India doesn't have
Yeah.
this anymore. And I think those
Yeah.
days are gone. I think back in
Yeah.
the day when I was growing up, it was really difficult, to even get a VHS. Forget a DVD
Yeah.
was not even there. To
Uh-huh.
even get a VHS, or to get a instructional DVD
Yeah.
from America was a dream.
Yeah.
And nowadays you go to see, every drummer has their own
Yeah.
website, every artist has their own website. You can buy their DVDs, you can buy their merch online. So I think now you don't have an excuse, you have everything on the tip of your hand, and you just need to be a little geeky and try to
Yeah.
see what's going on in the market. And even when it comes to drums, I'm always talking to the brands also nowadays, not just going on YouTube, but talking to Zul'jin, talking to Pearl Drums, that what are they thinking in the next 5 years, where are they heading, what is their game plan on whether a certain kind of series of drums or certain kinds of cymbals, whether what heads are they working on, is there anything coming up in 23 now, uh, you know uh, so every company that I endorse, I kind of really work with them deeply. For me, it's not just about getting freebies from them, but it's about
Yeah.
working as a team. I also give them a lot of input about the Indian markets, what is working here right now, what is the best kind of series that you can sell here. uh,
Yeah.
you know Talking about in-ear monitoring, because I do so many gigs every day, what are the in-ears that I'm using, why am I using those in-ears,
Yeah.
so things like that. It's very important for you to always keep working on these things so that your process on stage becomes
Yeah.
smoother. For me, my in-ear monitoring is extremely important because I'm listening to two and a
Yeah.
half 3 hours of music every day, and if I'm not happy with it,
Yeah.
I will not be able to give that output back on
True.
stage. If I
True.
really enjoy myself and if I get a great mix, I'll really enjoy and I'll give my 200% on stage as
Yeah.
well. So these things are extremely important, and I think the more you do, the more performance you do on stage, you will start learning all these things as well.
Yeah. Uh, I know it's been a really long one, but I definitely, there are a couple of other things that I want to touch upon because they're very, very important for someone as a music professional. One thing is like the role of social media, and you can just quickly tell us about it. What do you think and all that?
I think it's a great platform. I've always taken social media in a way wherein I'm able to use it to the best of my abilities in the sense of musically. I feel it's extremely important in today's time to be a part of it. Uh, Now, what you post on it is completely up to you, and what standard you want to post that, because I see a lot of people posting things every day, but then if the quality is crap, then I'm sorry, nobody's going to check that out that much.
Yeah.
So for me, putting quantity stuff was never a thing. I wanted to put out whatever videos that you see of my live shows, or recordings, or drum cam or stuff. Everything is mixed,
Mhm.
everything is mastered. We shoot it with a 2-3 camera setup wherein we are able to give them different angles,
Mhm.
and just make that experience worth it when they come to the channel.
Yeah.
So I think it's extremely important for all the musicians to not get into the quantity part. Like, there is no rule that you need to post every day, or you need to,
Yeah.
maintain a certain thing. I think it depends from person to person. If you are a YouTuber and that's what you are doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
making money out of, then maybe you will have to do that every day.
Yeah.
But for a person like me, who's I don't make money out of that, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm making money out of a different field. So for me, the quality of music is extremely important. What I give back to them has to be of that level, if I'm posting it on my channel. So I think you need to take it, you need to be there for sure, there's no doubt about that,
Yeah.
because you're getting free promotions, man, where you can put a
Yeah.
poster out, and there are so many people watching it, and they can buy the tickets from there nowadays. Everything is at a link, and you
Yeah.
can straight away get your tickets there. You can sell your albums there. You can sell your merchandise there. I have my sticks, or my signature sticks, that I
True.
sell online, and so there are a lot of things that can, the social media really helps to do. So I think it's important to be a part of it, but not overly, where you are, every day getting up and thinking, "Acha, aaj main kya post karunga." It should not be like that. It should just
Yeah.
happen by itself. And then, yes, the more the
Yeah.
people follow you, the more you're able to push your business, whether it's my master classes, whether it's my drum camps, whether it's my live concerts that I do with my trio setup. This social media really helps me to push that
Yeah. Yeah.
forward.
And I think just like you said, being more quality conscious than quantity conscious. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, Quickly, thing about like collaboration also, because I know you collaborate with like a lot of artists, all different styles and everything. So could you talk about like collaboration as being a way to grow as an artist? So, and ultimately, so everything has to kind of relate to, how do I make a sustainable living out of, taking music as a career? So
Right.
collaboration as a sort of a toolkit. So what do you think?
So collabs for me, again, as I said, I've always done that from day one. Like,
Yeah.
even with my own music, I've always collaborated with musicians that I firstly always wanted to work with. For me, that is very important. I, that a collab has to happen with somebody who will really push you as an artist as well, you know. Uh, and I think it's amazing, because you are able to then work on a piece of music from even different parts of the world today. Wherein
Yeah.
I've collaborated with a Tony Gray, who's sitting in New York right now.
Yeah.
And we've done a track recently which is called Pulse. And it's amazing to understand their culture, to kind of interact with them, to know their musicality, where they are
Yeah.
heading, and stuff like that. And as I said, as a musician, it really pushes me to grow every day. When I work with
Yeah.
people like Rhythm Shaw, or Mohini Day, or
True.
Bobby Lewis, and Kaz Rodriguez. So many
Yeah.
people that I'm able to collaborate with on a daily basis. And these are musicians who are on the top of their game. And for me to perform with them, and to share the stage with them, and to have an album with them is really
Yeah.
fortunate. And that's what collabs will help you to do. And it also will help you to grow as an artist. Now, as we were discussing, social media, I think collaborations is very important in the social media age as well right now,
Yeah.
because each one has their own following. And when we
Yes.
kind of collaborate, there are followers from my side who will go into their page, and their followers will come onto my page.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we as a music community also keeps growing, and I kind of get
Yeah.
new listeners on my page because of them. So I
Yes.
think that is also extremely important in today's time,
Mhm.
when you're talking about social media as well.
Wonderful. Cool. And as we're coming to the closing this session, one last thing is about like legalities around being a musician. Okay, so that includes your rights as a musician, the things that you have composed, where you can utilize it, and to make it like additional source of revenue and stuff like that, and then just to protect your own intellectual property. So could you talk a little bit about the legalities in general, and how
So
aware, whether you should like outsource that into like a law firm, or should you do it yourself, or like how do you what's your approach?
So now this topic is something which will, we need an entire session for this.
Yeah,
It's impossible to answer in two
yeah,
minutes. This
yeah,
thing, because in today's time, this point is becoming really important now for us to understand as musicians first. Uh, there are already rights for musicians that musicians are not even aware of, today.
yeah.
And for me as a producer, yes, I know, I kind of connect to TuneCore as a distribution platform, and I
Mhm.
keep getting my royalties and my stuff from them. Obviously the percentage is crazy, like it's this peanuts basically, but it's still important for me to grow as an artist, and
Yeah,
whatever I to have the rights of the music that I own. You know,
yeah,
so it's very important to know these things. There are other platforms like when you are a composer, platforms like IPRS and
yeah.
PRS in London. There's a music exchange in America as well. Where you are able to get a percentage as a musician also.
Yeah, okay.
And for the most of my journey, I didn't even know that the recordings that I've done in 2006, that I should be getting royalty from there, because
Wow.
unfortunately the royalty in India right now has obviously is better, but not for musicians as of now. It's only great for
Okay.
composers and singers. We do not have the law yet passed by the government which suggests that the performer also should be getting an X amount of percentage from the royalties earned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, what IPRS did was they only worked for singers, for composers and lyricists,
Lyricist.
and
Yeah,
musicians was never on their list.
yeah, yeah,
So there are a lot of things that we are working on. I'm also closely working these days with Vivek Rajagopalan, who's
yeah.
a
Of
crazy
course.
guy, and
Yeah,
he's a madhead who knows all about royalties. And I think if you ever want to do a session about royalty, or
absolutely.
or understanding musician royalties, or even if you want to as a musician, he does a lot of master classes with this, and I think he would be the right person to answer all your queries, because he's worked with MCAI very closely over the years,
Mhm.
and he has a lot of information on how things should be done, and in a specific way. But as royalties for musicians, it's still a long way to go in India. As such, we are all trying hard to push it now,
Mhm.
because slowly everybody is getting aware of it. Firstly, musicians were also not putting that much of their own music, so they were not bothered. They used to just go to the recordings, take their money, and they never used to ask about royalties
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
So I think the times are changing. The kind of musicians who are coming into the market, they are very educated now, and they know what they are getting into. And as you said, all these things are very important for musicians to understand, that yes, you have a right to get that royalty. Somebody
yeah,
else is getting it right now. So if you get those certain things right, and get that information and be a member of all these organizations, then
yeah,
you will be surely be able to get money out of the work that you've done. And I think it's extremely important for musicians to get that, because I feel we have a limited time, right, as musicians to work in this industry, and we
Mhm.
don't have a pension plan, right? we
Exactly,
don't we
exactly.
don't we, we don't have a company which is going to pay you when you are 60.
Yeah,
So if you are able to do this, and if you're able to do it the right way, I feel your journey post retirement would be much smoother, because I've seen a lot of musicians struggling, who worked their asses off, back in the day. But
yeah,
today, when you look at them, they don't have any savings left. They don't have anything for their medical
yeah,
stuff, and I really feel sad for them, because I feel, they really worked hard, and the amount of songs that they have worked on over the years,
yeah,
if they would be even be paying 1 rupee every stream,
yeah,
the just imagine the amount of
yeah,
money
yeah.
they would be getting.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
even in today's time, all these old songs are getting recreated, and but
Oh, yeah.
where are all the royalties going? Because
True. True.
that's the sad part of it. But I think hopefully, in the next decade, we're going to see a lot of change in the musicians' royalty things in
Yeah.
India as well.
On the same note, I also want to just mention that there was this All About Music conference that I attended a couple of years back when Clinton was there, and Clinton was talking about, he did this song Madari, and there's that guitar riff that song begins with, and then
Yes,
he was approached by, I think, some ad agency or something. They just wanted to use just that part. Now,
right,
of course, he is the composer there, so his royalty things and everything is pretty well taken care of. But
right.
if you were the guitarist and then you played that particular riff, and then that got used as some other for some other ads or something like that, you should also be getting some royalty out of that. But right
But
now,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that culture and that law has not been passed officially by the government. The day that happens, if you see, even the song Chaudhary was
yeah.
used in another television serial, I've heard,
Oh,
as their
okay.
main title song. you know
Wow, really?
yeah, so now technically the royalty should be coming to all the people who were part of that song.
Yeah, yeah,
But unfortunately, when the contracts and the agreements happen in India, the
yeah,
musicians are never part of the royalty at all. It's only the composer, the lyricist, and the singer who get that percentage,
yeah,
because the law is there in
yeah,
the world, that
yeah,
if you are a performer, if you are even if you have played one snare drum on that, you should be getting a certain amount of percentage. And that's the way it works in the West. There is
yeah, yeah,
a grade which is being given to every studio musicians who works in the LA industry business.
yeah,
Wherein if you're a grade A artist or a grade B artist, this is your royalty, or
yeah,
if you're a grade C artist, this is your royalty. So whether you are a grade A or a grade C, you have a different percentage of royalty, but you get royalty for everything that you play on in a recording.
yeah, yeah,
And that culture needs to now come to India soon. If the
yeah,
musicians really need to survive, that's the only way I feel this will go forward. And I'm also talking to a lot of people in the community to push this in certain way where we can all come together as a community, and put this to the government, that to do this and make musicians a part of the royalty business as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think this has been such a wonderful, insightful talk. Actually, thank you for that. And I just want to mention that, I hope this session is helpful for all these students who are going to watch this, and hopefully it'll help them to decide, they can actually be a musician and create a long-term sustainable career out of that, and they don't have to think that, they don't have to have a plan B of
True.
sort. I hope this kind of gives a pretty broad overview for people to understand the whole business. And thank you so much for this. So
Pleasure.
any parting note about your experience, your association with IIT Bombay, and with Mood Indigo, and obviously with Livdemy as well.
It's been amazing, actually. Firstly, it was an amazing chat, and it's always fun chatting with you. There's so much information and stuff to we always share, even on when we are on a call. So thank you for making this happen. And with Mood Indigo, yes, it's always been very special because I've been performing at Moodai for over 15 years now. I've played
Wow.
with SEL and Adnan Sami and Farhan and my own band, a couple of years back. So it's a very special venue for me. The kind of response, the kind of love that we always get at Muda is yeah, certain times we do a lot of shows all across the country and even outside, but there are special cities and there are special venues which just has some really amazing energy. And I think Mood
Yeah,
Indigo is one of those venues wherein every
absolutely.
time I've played with an artist there, when you come off stage, it's like you have a different high altogether, because they are so
Yes.
amazing, they are so warm, and the kind of response that we receive from them is always great. So big
Yeah.
ups to them for making this happen again this year, and keep doing great work. Keep calling amazing artists
Yes.
at your venue, and hope to see you guys soon there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Darshan. This has been a wonderful talk, and I know it's been quite late also. I hope you go and enjoy the football match also.
Yes, the match is
Okay.
just started.
Yeah, just started.
Cheers.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Okay.
Thanks, Satya.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.